Hi, this is Misbah, and you are watching Wisdom Dose. NEBOSH Element-1, Why We Should Manage Workplace Health and Safety. Welcome to Element-1. In this lesson, we will cover the reasons organizations must manage safety, moral, legal, and financial, and we will look at who is responsible, what enforcement can happen if standards are not met, and how contractors should be managed. I'll walk you through practical examples so you can apply this in any workplace. Learning objectives. On this slide, you can see our learning objectives for Element 1. First, we'll discuss the 3 core reasons to manage health and safety: the moral obligation to protect people, the legal requirements that demand action, and the financial consequences of failing to manage risk. Second, we'll explain how health and safety is regulated, international frameworks and national enforcement, and what happens if organizations do not comply. Third, we'll summarize the main duties of employer, manager, and worker, and show how to select, plan, and monitor contractors. Keep these objectives in mind as we move through each section. They indicate what you will be expected to understand and later to answer in exam-style questions. Key terms: health, safety, welfare. This slide defines 3 central terms that we will use throughout the course. Health refers to the absence of disease or ill health. For example, breathing in dust that causes long-term lung disease affects health. Safety refers to freedom from risk of serious injury. For instance, working under a suspended load is unsafe because of fall risk. Welfare covers basic facilities such as toilets, places to wash, clean drinking water, and rest areas. When you assess a workplace, always think separately about health, safety, and welfare. Each needs different controls. The moral reason. Here we cover the moral reason for managing health and safety. Employers hold control over premises, equipment, and working methods, and with that control comes a duty of care. When work isn't managed safely, real people suffer. Workers lose health or life, families are affected, and communities feel the impact. The moral argument is simple. We should not expose people to avoidable harm. It's the human, ethical reason. It's the right thing to do. Employers who accept this responsibility often find that stronger safety leads to a more motivated and loyal workforce. Next is the financial reason. Accidents and ill health cost money in 2 ways. First, direct costs, medical treatment, compensation, the cost of repairing damaged equipment, and immediate lost production. Second, indirect costs, reduced staff morale, difficulty recruiting, higher staff turnover, damaged reputation, extra management time, and lost orders. Many of those indirect costs cannot be fully insured and are often far greater than the direct costs. That's what regulators sometimes call the uninsured loss iceberg. In simple terms, taking care of safety saves organizations real money in the medium and long term. Regulating health and safety, international and national. This slide explains how health and safety is regulated. Internationally, the ILO set out conventions and recommendations, notably C-155 and R-164, that describe basic policy and employer responsibilities. Most countries translate these principles into their own laws. Enforcement is then carried out locally by an agency, for example, the HSE in Great Britain, OSHA in the USA, or the relevant ministry or regulatory body in your country. These agencies inspect workplaces, issue guidance, and take enforcement action when required. Legal consequences of noncompliance. If organizations fail to comply with legal standards, there are real consequences. Regulators can serve improvement or prohibition notices that force changes or stop dangerous work. Persistent or serious breaches may lead to criminal prosecution, with fines and, in some countries, even imprisonment for responsible individuals. Separately, injured workers can pursue civil claims for compensation. The legal route aims to deter unsafe practice and to provide redress to victims. Employers' responsibilities. This slide shows typical employer duties. Employers must provide workplaces, equipment, and systems that, so far as reasonably practicable, are safe and without risk to health. They must provide information, suitable instruction, training and supervision, and supply protective equipment when elimination or engineering control is not possible. Employers should also consider working hours and fatigue. These duties are practical, For example, ensuring machinery is guarded, arranging induction training for new staff, and providing written procedures for hazardous tasks. Workers' responsibilities and rights. Workers also have duties and rights. They must take reasonable care of their own safety and that of others, use equipment properly, and follow instructions. They should report hazards and incidents. At the same time, workers have rights, the right to receive information and training, to be consulted on health and safety matters, and, importantly, the right to leave a workplace they believe presents an imminent or serious danger without being penalized. Good organizations make sure workers know both their responsibilities and their rights. Role of enforcement agencies. Enforcement agencies play a critical role. They inspect workplaces, investigate incidents, provide advice, and, when necessary, use formal powers, such as improvement or prohibition notices, and prosecute lawbreakers. In some countries, insurers also influence standards by requiring audits or by increasing premiums where risks are unmanaged. Understanding how local enforcement works helps organizations plan their compliance strategy. Other international standards and sources of information. Beyond law, other standards give practical guidance. ISO 45001 is the international standard for occupational health and safety management systems and aligns well with good practice. There are also technical ISO standards for things like machinery safety. Authoritative sources of guidance include national regulator websites, for example HSE in the UK, OSHA in the US, which publish useful practical guidance. Use these documents to build or check your own systems. Who does what in organizations? This slide explains who does what. The employer, usually a legal or a corporate entity, carries ultimate responsibility. Directors and senior managers set the safety policy, allocate resources, and appoint competent people to support delivery. Line managers and supervisors make policy work day to day by ensuring their teams follow safe systems of work. Clear roles and responsibilities must be recorded so everyone knows what is expected. Shared responsibilities and contractor management. When more than one employer occupies the same space or when contractors work on site, duties are shared. Employers must cooperate and coordinate activities. Clients must select competent contractors, check their safety policy, training records, and accident history, and ask for references. Planning and coordination are critical. Require contractors to produce risk assessments and method statements, run site inductions, and monitor work. High-risk tasks often require permits to work and close supervision. Summary and exam tips. To summarize Element-1, manage safety because it is morally right, legally required, and financially sensible. Make sure duties are allocated clearly across employers, managers, and workers, and that contractors are selected, planned, and supervised properly. For the exam, always read the question carefully, follow the structure requested, give clear points and short examples to back up answers. If the question asks explain, give reasons. If it asks list, give concise items. Time management in the exam is critical. That completes Element-1, the why of health and safety. In the next element, we will learn how to build systems to manage the risks we discussed today.